What do you do when you're limited on space but big on ambition? There are lots of clever solutions out there, but the gardener we're meeting today has taken things to a whole new level, literally. His crops aren't down here, they're up there. Joel? Hello, there he is, look. Hi Joel, lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Now, first question on everyone's lips, why on top of a shed?
Gosh, the original idea really was to not lose space. When you build a structure like this, you're obviously eating into the footprint of your garden, but if you put that garden back onto the roof, you've therefore lost no space.
It's a genius idea, and I don't see why we don't see more of it. It's it's a relatively small garden, and you'd have lost maybe a quarter of your footprint. And like, this isn't obviously something from a DIY or box store, is it? You've made this yourself. So what were the considerations, and especially with the weight of all that sort of soil on top, what sort of structural considerations were there?
Well, I'm a carpenter. I understand the structure. You can't just throw one of these things up. You can find all of this information, online with a bit of research. They have tables which define the size of the wood you need.
Okay.
Compared to the weights.
Well, I'd love to go and have a look up. Should we go and have a look?
Yeah, sure thing. Little baby fox.
Oh yeah. Wow. The thing that really strikes me is when you're looking down, it doesn't feel like you're on a roof. There's sort of wild strawberries growing here and grass and so on. It sort of genuinely feels like an extension of the garden. But you're noticing the wind, aren't you? It's quite exposed here, isn't it?
It's all about the exposure. So I certainly don't struggle for light because you raised up. There's very little shadow.
Yes.
So that's a good thing and a bad thing. You obviously need the sunlight for the plants to grow, but it can be quite harsh in terms of water and things.
Yes.
From this point, you can see the sea.
That's a great view, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I have my cup of tea here and just look out.
The world. Yeah.
But you get the winds coming straight through there. And so sometimes people forget about the damage wind can do to plants.
Yeah.
You're definitely exposed and you have to try and get around that.
So do you got tomatoes here, but this is presumably a bush or determinate variety because it's just going to get clipped by the wind, I'm guessing, if it grew too tall. So is there that sort of plant selection there? You're thinking about what is resilient to the wind and can cope with it?
Yeah, resilience, the word. I'm always adapting every year, like all gardeners, all good gardeners.
Yeah.
You're trying to take the information and adapt to it. Things like these grasses are really there to try and break that wind up.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to get the crops yet relatively low.
Yeah.
Then, so they're not exposed to the wind.
That's right. Yeah. And your the depth of soil here, obviously being on top of a roof, you can't have it too deep. What sort of depths are we dealing with here?
Well, there's 100 mil over the whole thing.
So 4 inches, yeah.
So that's like a foundation which protects the membrane.
I see, yeah.
But it also retains some of that water.
Yeah. Joel, I'm really admiring your handiwork here as a carpenter. I can really see your craftsmanship here. Where'd you get the wood from, and how'd you put these guys together?
Well, it's pretty easy for me because I'm a carpenter, this type of stuff. It's quite basic really, but because I do carpentry, there's always wood lying around, and I'm that type of person that never throws anything
Are you
away.
a scavenger?
I am a scavenger.
Yeah, good on you.
My poor wife has to put up with me bringing all kinds home. So they're all reclaimed, I suppose, or offcuts.
Okay.
As you can see, I've got about 4 inches of soil, which cover the whole roof.
Yeah.
And then the raised beds, that's around 8 inches.
Okay.
So if you can get to something like a foot of soil, that's enough.
Opens up your options a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what have you filled the raised beds with here? What's the growing material?
Well, I've got to get this soil onto the roof in the first place. So it's a mixture of soil from my garden, from building it, and compost.
Okay.
And then, as gardeners know, then it's all about mulch really, and adding to that every year with organic matter.
Yeah.
Also, I think this type of soil, it's quite chalk based where we are.
Yeah.
So it's good to try and balance that out a little bit, and it dries out as well.
It's a good point that we're in probably the driest part of the country, And like 2 years ago, it didn't rain for sort of something like 2 months here. It must be really savage keeping up with watering here and dealing with that kind of, well, it gets quite warm as well, doesn't it? How do you do that?
Really, it's about trying to preserve what water you can, but as you can see, I've got an irrigation system which I can turn on in emergencies, and it keeps everything going. But I try and save that for emergencies.
Oh, I see. So you're not just willy-nilly turning it on all the time. It's like
Yeah.
it really is. Yeah, that's very responsible.
I have a tin bath on the roof. I'm also collecting what rainwater I can as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Have you had a bath in it yet yourself? You had
That was famously on the Shed of the Year thing, where I was on the roof having a bath, but you know, it's quite exposed. You have to be careful about exposing
What about your neighbours?
yourself.
Yeah. Brilliant. Now, I'm quite interested about plant selection, Joel, because it is such a challenging spot. And I notice you've got a lot of perennials here, lots of herbs. What's your kind of plant selection philosophy? Why have you chosen what you've chosen here?
It's all about adapting really to the surroundings. So each year I'm always changing the things that I plant. The idea behind the soft fruits and things really just because they seem to be able to handle the wind.
They're really thriving, aren't they? Look at them.
Well, this jostaberry seems to particularly enjoy the environment, so you never really know as a gardener, do you, until you get it in the ground. The more you can allow nature to do, the less work you have to do yourself. I think sometimes people forget that you have to get nature on board. And it gives you an opportunity then to enjoy your garden more.
Absolutely. And you're including flowers as well.
I'm always putting flowers in between, and I think really it's more of a polyculture. That seems to work best for me when I see a gap. I fill it. I've always planted in that way, trying to make these pollinator highways to help with the crops. But you're right. I love to see a little bit of colour.
That's I love that expression, pollinator highways, because you think of it isolated in your garden, but when you're up here, you can see how you got your ribbons of trees and shrubs, and you see how gardens knit together as a network running through the neighbourhood. It's been raining a lot this morning, and I have to say I'm noticing a lot of snails here, and I'm quite surprised because we're up here. These are guys like mountaineers, aren't they? Is that kind of one of your biggest pests here, or?
Oh, the snails are absolutely relentless in this area for some reason. But I'm a big nature lover, I suppose. So I don't really treat them as pests as such. There's always a bit of damage, and my job is just to keep growing more things. I obviously don't use any insecticides, anything like that, because it doesn't help a garden. It's about building up biodiversity always. So I've got a pond, and I'm trying the nematodes and things. It's So it's always about that. If you about building up predators, and not killing these things.
That's great to have them on site like that. Yeah, maybe if the frogs in the pond down there can kind of take care of the snails at ground level, then you can kind of get on top of them up here.
Absolutely. I come up of a night time and collect the snails. You can see me sheepishly taking them to the local park.
Oh, really?
I'm trying to.
Oh, that's one way of doing it.
Yeah.
There's some, I don't know if this is true, but apparently there's like these experiments where they put them and they can sort of come back within like half a mile or something. I don't know how true that is, but
I did want to experiment, put a bit of nail varnish on the back and see if that's true.
Brilliant. So you got some squash here. What squash are you growing here?
Again, the snails, if you can get the squash so these spines come, then they can handle
Natural
it.
defense,
but a lot of them have suffered. So like I say, I'm always experimenting. I put too many cabbages in because I know some of them will be eaten, and then I'll thin them as I go.
Yeah. A bit like planting a woodland, you know, there'll be some failures, so you just account for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And every year I learn, tomatoes always do well because the snails don't seem to like them, and the leeks always seem to survive. I can't grow things like peas. I've just given up on them because they get decimated.
I get decimated by the wind and the snails, I guess.
They never seem to get the strength to keep going. But like I say, it's a gardener's job to work these things out. But it's good to grow. I think more often than not, I'm trying to grow things that I like to eat as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you've got the mint there as well. That seems to, it's such a brute. mint.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that in this rhubarb one next year.
Sometimes reckon mint's so vigorous you could sort of pretty much grow it on the moon without any sort of particular kind of soil amendments.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love making Moroccan tea and things.
Oh, lovely, yeah. I don't think I've ever had a jostaberry. Do you mind if I actually try one?
Not at all.
They're really juicy.
What do you think?
Oh, do you know what? When you said a gooseberry blackcurrant cross, I was thinking it would be quite sort of sour or astringent, but it's really sweet and
Oh, they're
juicy.
delicious.
They're gorgeous, aren't they?
They take the edge off that gooseberry, so the sharpness, don't they?
And it's amazing, this kind of skylight here, like right down to your office, which is in the shed.
Yeah, I put this glass roof in because I do a lot of painting, so I want the natural light coming in. But this building is my office, really. That's where I come to write and to paint and be creative. And it's lovely being in these natural environments. It really helps with creativity, actually.
And I guess with all this sort of soil and so on top, it's nice and warm and sort of snug in there as well.
It is. Part of a green roof is the thermal mass. It's an incredible insulator. So there's so many benefits to building in this way.
And down in the garden, I see you've got a cherry there and a fig as well. So you've got quite a nice sort of river of fruit, if you like, if that's not too pretentious a term.
Yeah, you're right. I wanted it to feel like an extension of the garden. I didn't want it to feel separate. So you can see all the fruit trees going through. That's really how I've designed the garden, I suppose. Yeah. So that it flows into one another.
My cherry at home has got completely pulled to shreds by, I guess, bullfinches or some sort of birds. And my brassicas just get massacred by pigeons, but everything looks pretty untouched here. Are the seagulls on patrol here for you? Because we're right by the sea, aren't we? So maybe that has an effect.
I'm just thinking how lucky you are if you've got bullfinches in your garden.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I'm a big bird watcher. But yeah, you're right, to some degree the seagulls patrol the area. Do you know, actually it's still the snails that take the cherries, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They'll hide in the little gaps, and so I have to try and beat them to it as soon as they're ripe.
That's amazing, because that's sort of the fruits are sort of 6 to 8 foot up, aren't they? So
snails do not care. You imagine being that snail. It's incredible, isn't it?
Joel, I think you've created such a little oasis here in your garden, and it's a very special place, and I'm very, very honoured that you've had us along today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. Nice to show it to you.